Well, I'm pleased to be joined by Greg Crowe. He is will be the next president of Ehlers. And Ehlers is a pioneer and regional leader in municipal advisory services since 1955. Greg, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
So it sounds like you'll be starting your new duties here at the first of the year. Is that right?
That's correct. January 1st.
Okay. Well, tell me about that. Sounds like you've been with the company for a while now. And how did you get to where you are now, where you're stepping in as the next president?
Sure. I actually have been at Ehlers for just over 9 years now. Before that, I spent almost 20 years at the State House of Representatives as a nonpartisan budget analyst, working primarily on K-12 education finance. So in the public sector, working with financial formulas and policies that relate to school districts in Minnesota. So when I came to Ehlers, it was a natural transition to continue to work with school districts. We work with tax exempt bond issuers and cities, counties, townships, schools across Minnesota and Wisconsin primarily, but also do some work in Kansas, Colorado, Illinois. And working with school districts in a different aspect than I was at the state, but still helping them solve problems and build their communities. And so I've been doing that for, as I said, just over 9 years. During that time, I became part of our management team and became the leader of our internal operating team that works with school districts. And so I've done that for about 6 years. So when this opportunity came up, it seemed like a natural fit given where we are right now and given where I am in my experience. And so I'm excited about what the future holds.
Yeah, just looking at the little bit of background on the company, Ehlers works with more than 1,500 local government, schools, and public agencies across 5 states, as you noted. Talk about, you said you've worked with some of the school districts in the past. Can you talk about some of the things that you help them out with? Do you help out, for example, on bond referendums, things of that nature?
Sure. Yeah. So that's probably for our education group, one of the biggest things that we focus on is bond referendums and capital projects for school districts. So White Bear Lake School District, for example, passed a bond referendum over $300 million. That's the largest in the state. We helped them set that up, design the financing in a way that would meet their capital needs while at the same time being responsive to their taxpayers and the board's feeling is about tax impact and things like that. So we get involved in those types of projects sometimes when there's not an election, but certainly when there is an election. And on the municipal side, we also do bond issuance, of course, but we do economic development, as you mentioned, TIF work, and rate studies for different municipal governments. So a little bit broader practice when it comes to city and county work versus the school district work. And while that's been my focus, the company focus is much broader than school districts.
Okay. And you mentioned TIF as well. I've covered a lot of different projects over the years and written about different projects that are seeking TIF assistance, and your company's name comes up very often. And
Right.
it sounds like you serve them, help them do an analysis. Is it basically like a cost benefit analysis? And I hear the term "but for" would this project go forward, but for this assistance. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, that's the type of work we do for a city, for example, that's considering a TIF district, and we have a fiduciary responsibility to our public sector clients, and so our goal is to help them make sure that what they're doing is best for them, and so we're approaching the table helping out those municipal entities from that side of it.
Mm-hmm. And I guess TIF is something we hear about all the time, but I'm not sure we all understand what it really means. Can you maybe
Right.
explain that a little bit, what we're talking about when we talk about tax increment financing?
Sure, sure. And I'll give you broad strokes. We have, if you want to get deep into TIF, we have some experts I'd love to refer you to.
Okay.
But generally, tax increment financing reserves a certain amount of the tax base growth that happens with the development, and uses that to help encourage the development. So,
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what else? You mentioned economic development too is also something you're involved in. Can you talk about that a little bit?
right, it's generally in that same category
Mhm.
as TIF, and we do financial management planning for municipal entities where we kind of look at long range budget and forecasting planning for them. We do that both with municipal entities as well as school districts, and trying to help them get a sense for where they're at and where they might be going down the
Mhm.
road. And we've got some dedicated groups that work on work on those types of things. We have a pretty broad array of services, you know, ranging from bond issuance, economic development, financial management planning, paying agent services,
Mhm.
disclosure services, investment services. So we bring a broad range of services to each of those municipal entities that we work with.
Mhm. Okay. Getting back to the school districts a little bit, can you give us a sense of what some of the challenges they're facing when if they're considering a bond referendum? I'm sure a lot of times they have certain needs, but they also want to make sure that they come up with a plan that would be acceptable to taxpayers, and has a chance of getting approved. How do you guys help them address those challenges?
Sure. Yeah, they're obviously acutely aware of the deficiencies that they have in their capital plans and the needs that they have. And so, you know, when they've identified those and prioritized those, that's when we step in and say, you know, here are some options for how you potentially finance the improvements to your facilities. And first on their minds is improving education opportunities for students, but they also need to be responsive to their taxpayers. And so that's one of our areas of expertise where we work with them to identify what opportunities they might have that would either minimize or mitigate tax impact, or sometimes come with no tax impact. And then if they do have to ask their voters to approve some sort of financing that has a tax impact, what's the best way to manage that
Mhm.
um, in a way that's satisfactory to them? And while they often come with tax increases, there's also the long-term uh, planning that goes into making sure that once those taxes are in place, that they're predictable and sustainable. And we work with them on that. And that can include different types of bond issuance, different structures, different timing. All of those things come into play when we're working with the school district. Think about how best to meet their needs while being responsive to their taxpaying public.
Okay. And you also work with you mentioned you have experience with the Minnesota State House of Representatives, and do you work with the state as well on issues such as bonding, things of that nature, or is that
No,
something
we
you're
don't.
involved in?
We don't work with the state on their bond issuance.
Okay. But at the city level, can you expand on that a little bit and some of the other services that you offer for municipalities?
Sure. So cities issue bonds for, you know, roads and bridges
Mhm.
and utilities, and we can help with all of those types of projects.
Mhm.
But then also from the economic development side with Jeff, and and on the operating side with rate studies when they think about the sustainability the utilities they're offering, like utility rate study, a water study, things like that. And then, as I mentioned, financial management plan, long-term budget planning, kind of really anything that a city administrator needs to do on the finance side, we can provide some assistance to them. Sometimes we view ourselves as a extension of those business offices. So, and then of course, everything related to post issuance as it relates to debt service. And we've also been growing our investment business. So we handle a lot of city and school district, both proceeds of when they issue debt. We can help manage those investments, and also ongoing investments of their operating funds and their assets they have in fund balance. We work with them on that as well.
Okay. Do you have a kind of a general read on what's going on in the bond market now? Is this a good time to issue bonds, or is it?
Yeah, their rates are at historic lows right now. Generally, there's a lot of uncertainty around inflation and some of the Fed discussions, but we're seeing a lot of demand still for tax exempt municipal debt, and there's a lot of activity when we conduct competitive sales of those bonds, and we're seeing rates coming in still relatively low. Some of the indexes that we follow ticked up a bit in October, but then have fallen back a little bit again. So, in the short term, we aren't seeing a lot of upward pressure on rates, but when you're at really low levels, that's really where the pressure is, right?
Okay. So you talked a little bit about your background. Is this what are you from the area? Did you go to school here? And is this have you considered the Twin Cities home?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm a proud graduate of Grand Rapids High School in northern Minnesota,
Okay.
and I went to college at St. John's University, and graduate school. I graduated from the University of Minnesota, so Minnesota is definitely my home, and I enjoy being here, and I really enjoy serving the communities of Minnesota. I've over the last 8 or 9 years, I think I've traveled on just about every highway in the state, visiting those school districts and other clients, and I'm proud to be here from here, and I'm very happy when we're able to help those communities. And we're working on a bond issue right now with the Grand Rapids School District where I graduated from, and so it's a way for me to continue to feel connected to those communities that are really important to me.
Well, great. And then I was wondering if you could talk a little bit just also about your vision for the company, and
Sure.
kinda how you're approaching that in your new role.
Sure. So we have a significant presence in Minnesota and Wisconsin, which I'm also thrilled to be for the help that we do in Wisconsin, because I think we do a lot of very good work there. And I actually lived in Madison for a little while, so I do have some Wisconsin ties as well. But even though I call Minnesota home, so we've over the last 3 years, we've done a bit of a reset in terms of where we want to be at as a firm. And we had a longtime president and who served us very well. And but the board had specific direction for the president who's retiring now, for Jeff, when he came in, and he's been able to accomplish much of that sort of repositioning and reset. And so we're at a really good place, and we've had record profitability over the last couple of years. And my goal in the short term is just to make sure that we're continuing on the path that we've started down. And I think we're at a place where we need continuity in our leadership, but we don't need to stay status quo. So my vision going forward is to continue to keep our our focus on our clients and the importance of our teams and the folks that work here. We're employee-owned company. So people have a vested interest in our success and in each other's success. And that's very important to me. And so I would say internally, I'm pretty well known as a good team builder. So I just want to expand that and keep building the teams that we have, because really what we do is our success is based on the people that we bring into our organization. And so I want to make sure that we continue that history of success there.
Mm-hmm. And approximately how many employees do you have?
Just under 80.
Okay. You hear all the time about, and everything from construction to fast food business, people are having a hard time finding workers. Is it the same thing in the financial arena? A pretty tight market there and competition for workers?
I think there is, but we have a reputational benefit that helps us. First, we don't lose a lot of employees.
Mm-hmm.
We retain people, and we have a significant number of longtime employees. Mm-hmm. And when we go out looking for people, they know who we are, and they're excited about opportunities to join us. So we've been pretty successful in that arena. We've had a few hires recently that have come on, and we anticipate will be very successful in the company.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Greg, for your time. You've been generous with your time. Is there anything else that you want to add before I let you go?
I don't think so. Thanks for having me on, and please reach out if you think of anything else you want to ask.
For sure. And thank you for your time as well. And I will be in touch if there's anything else we need.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.